about the squad in Washington D.C. They get elected. They get to put forward their policies. They get to. They should be treated the same as any other member of Congress.
So they're not attacking Israel, you mean? When they're not attacking Israel, they're attacking the police.
Yes, but it is again. They are elected, so they have their right to make their positions. But that doesn't mean you can't call them out for being a hypocrite when they are taking the most hypocritical stance. So Cori Bush, she's got a protest going on right now in Washington, D.C., which I'm not even sure if you weren't a member of Congress, you could be on those Capitol steps to have your protest. But that being said, she is a member of Congress, so she can be there. But she's asked, wait, you're constantly talking about defund the police. You have hundreds of thousands of dollars of your budget has been spent towards your own private security. So, what gives here? Take a listen. This happened today on CBS.
I'm going to make sure I have security because I know I have had attempts on my life and I have too much work to do. There are too many people that need help right now for me to allow that. So if I end up spending $200,000, if I spend $10 more on it, you know what? I get to be here to do the work. So suck it up, and defunding the police has to happen. We need to defund the police and put that money into social safety nets.
Okay. So she has her private security police department. And she's telling everybody else that in the cities that don't have the funds to pay $200,000 or $300,000 or $10 for that matter for security, that they don't get to have theirs. So Harry, her policy is it's good for her to have security, but everybody else too bad.
Suck it up.
Absolutely.
That's what she said.
So what she is saying is she wishes to expose even her own constituents to a crime wave, to losing their life, so that she can have a platform. So again, I do not decry the fact that she has private security. Right. That probably makes a lot of sense. But what about securing the homes, the livelihoods, the futures of the constituents that she represents? At the end of the day, her statement is incoherent. It makes no sense, but that perhaps is why she's in Congress.
I'm shocked at what she just said, and I think every American should be shocked and indignant. She is saying basically that her life is more important than the people she represents. She's from St. Louis, which has an extremely high crime rate. Right. Her life is more important than the 6-year-old girl that was shot and killed in D.C. last week. Her life is more important than the mother of 3 who was killed in a carjacking attempt or the grandfather who was robbed and brutally beaten. I'm sorry, she just said she is more important than most of the rest of us. There needs to be a political price for that kind of arrogance and elitism.
The celebrity culture has been doing that forever, but they're not elected members of Congress. But they have massive security details with them. But then they tell everybody else they don't support the Second Amendment, don't protect yourself. Everybody with them has got guns. I'm sure her security has guns. Right. But she's against all of that. It is, to me, she's one of 435. Okay, she is someone who should have probably security because she's outspoken. She got elected, but making a huge deal out of that also, while supporting defund the police, is that where the Democrat Party is going? Because if it is, at some point you would think this does resonate with people to say, you know what? I get that they have security, but don't go around taking the police off our streets.
Well, Andy, I asked you because you work with local law enforcement, have for many decades. Well, what's the alternative that they're talking about? If you defund the police, what are you going to put in there?
You're going to have a social safety network, whatever that means. I have no idea what that means. In other words, when your house is being burglarized, when someone is busting into your car, when someone is taking a shot at you, don't call for the police. Call for the social safety network to come in and counsel the criminal and say, now, you shouldn't be doing this. This is not right. We have to talk to you about it. But that's the hypocrisy here, is that when they are themselves the target, the first person they scream for is a policeman.
Of course.
And you defund the police, and that policeman or policewoman is not going to be there, and you're going to be murdered or burglarized or shot or in some way maligned.
So I asked this to Than because I'm trying to figure this out, Than, politically. Where is this defund the? I know it's coming from the hard left of the Democratic Party, but Than, where does this makes sense for the politically? Where does this get them a plus?
I think it's incredibly short-sighted, Jay. Yes, it gets them donors. Yes, it gets the base that writes the checks excited. But guess who is not excited about this? her constituents, her voters. Jay, if you go to the neighborhoods where people are actually losing their lives, like Harry was talking about, forget attempts on her life or claims. I agree with Jordan. She probably does need security. Her constituents are losing their lives. And when they go into the ballot box the next time, Jay, I think it's going to backfire on her and others who are supporting these policies. They're going to get the funding. They're going to get the check from that type of base. But when it comes down to voters, Jay, I think this is extremely short-sighted.
Jordan, it's such a non-starter but it's pure politics. There's no doubt about that.
Young members of Congress who have been indoctrinated their whole life into putting forward these policies. So there's only a handful of them. That's why there is a squad that will actually go out and say these extreme things, try to defend their extreme records. But someone taught them this, Harry. This is not new. It is the kind of epitomization in real time of the radical left indoctrination that it stuck with them. You know, a lot of people that go to school, it's kind of like, okay, one thing with the professor, I move on to life career. But this stuck with them. They're activists. I don't think that they're not just saying this. I think they believe it.
Absolutely. So they believe essentially every power structure in the United States, every sense of order in the United States deserves to be destroyed, including the Constitution, including the rule of law. But at the end of the day, I think it will backfire, because what that means long term is that the nation will face suicide. Yeah. And guess who will be on the firing line? It will be those politicians. So if you go to San Francisco, if you go to many other cities, you find that individuals are going into stores. They are looting in front of the store security. No consequences. And if indeed these individuals are being apprehended, you have prosecutors who refuse to prosecute them. They will make up excuses. These people are desperate. So if they're desperate, guess what? This means that the rest of us have to have our lives put at risk so that these politicians can grandstand in front of the nation's capital.
But Harry, what you just said is absolutely right. This is grandstanding. I mean, this is political theater. It's political rhetoric. The problem is it's a dangerous consequence, because I go back to what Andy and I were just talking about. If you take away the police, and we're not saying the police don't need better training, of course. That's been very clear. But to eliminate the police, to defund the police is the mantra. That's the statement. Defund the police. Really? Well, the alternative is pretty bleak. Andy?
Yes, it's pretty bleak. It's dismal. In my view, when a policeman or a policewoman comes into the room, you stand up. You stand up, and instead of defund them, you defend them. You show the respect for law enforcement that they deserve. You train them, but you respect them, because they're out there every day doing the job of protecting you. They've got that gun in their holster, and they're the ones that are on the line, and their lives stand between you and the criminal, and you better wake up and realize that. And when you talk about this nonsense of defunding the police, think about you may be next.